360 to Center is gladly sponsored by A&M Rentals for all your golf cart, scooter, and bicycle rental needs. Hello, and welcome to another episode of 360 to Center, where we talk about everything conch baseball. I'm Crush, my co-host Ralphie Enriquez. Ralphie, how you doing today, buddy?
Crush, what up, brother? Another day here in Key West. Where the hell are you at?
Right now, I am in Memphis, Tennessee. Not the greatest,
Yes.
besides Elvis, not the greatest place in the world, at least that I've experienced.
Yeah, right?
Uh, yeah, to say the least. But
Who we got here
making
today, Crush?
making the best of it. Well, it looks like we got someone from Key West here. He looks like a Key West guy. Doesn't really act like a Key West guy, but I think his name is Doug Mientkiewicz.
Only
Doug.
for you. 17 kicked me off the staff after last year.
Doug, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, guys. How are you?
Pretty
Doing
good,
well.
pretty good. How's I see you have a podcast yourself now, right? Correct?
Yes, sir. It's called The Dugout. So far, so good. Got about 5 or 6 episodes in and looking for more, not so much a baseball one, but a sports one. So we're going to be tying into high school sports, recruiting to coaching to helping parents, because God knows we need a lot of that around here. So a little bit of everything. I'll get past players that I've coached, players that I've played with. Looking forward to try to do some kind of like watch parties for next October. I think would be a good idea. So we're kicking around a lot of ideas, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
You're finally getting getting the hang of the online world, huh? Isn't it
I won't say I am. I have a guy that's my guy's helping me a ton, because man, I don't Google Chrome, like, you're speaking Spanish, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's not even Spanish, because I can understand that. I go, at least like, you're speaking Japanese. I have no idea what you're talking about. I know it's not working, but thankfully I have a lot of good people like helping me out, holding my hand through this process.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Ralphie gives me the same excuse. He tells me, I mean, no speaky electronics.
Hey,
No speaking.
Steel has helped me a ton with all that stuff. So whenever I have a question, I call Steel.
Yeah, Steele's the I guess he's the veteran, because he's already been on the show, and you're just coming on, right? So
That's,
he's the vet of the of coming on the podcast. But you've been
warned
on
me.
a few.
He warned me. He warned me ahead of time what I was going up against. So I had a little heads up.
Still was good on the show. I know Ralphie wanted to talk to you about a couple things. You wanna go ahead and start, Ralph?
Yes, sir. So obviously last year you come into Key West, you're from Westminster Christian. I mean, everybody that Crush has brought onto this show, you ask them who you look forward to playing against most, or what was the biggest rival. It always lands at Westminster or Pace. You got to come to Key West, I guess, it was a 93, 94, maybe 92,
92.
92. Um, and then you got to come experience that. And then when you come here last year, obviously Steele's here playing. You got to experience it in a different way. You wear a Key West uniform. What was that like? I think I've never asked you this before.
I think in 92, I know as a member of a Westminster Christian baseball team, Coach Hoffman never really cared about an opponent. He never really put a face to the other uniform. But heading down there, he was adamant. It was a 3 or 4 day process where he's like, "You guys better be up a touchdown going into the 7th if you think you're going to win this game." So you can tell, like, we could tell, and I'm new. I was new to Westminster. I transferred over there. I didn't know much about anything outside of my district when I was at Palmetto, which was Killeen, Southridge, South Dade, Coral Gables. I didn't know much about, like, to say, like, the 2A, 3A, 4A like world. But when he told me that, I was like, I looked at Alex and JD, and I was like, Mickey, I was like, hey, is he freaking out about something? He's like, no, he's like, he goes, get your stuff right, because you go down there, it's gonna be a battle. So we knew that going in, and then flip it to wearing the uniform. I know from playing with you guys in the summer, I knew what it was like as a player, and I knew it was one of the main reasons why I really wanted my son to be a part of it. One, because I knew that benefits of playing and practicing with us every day down there, but to see that atmosphere, it's not the same. It's different. It's a tough place to play, and it's a wonderful feeling knowing that you wear the home uniform and you have a chance to have the whole island behind you. It means something.
No doubt. Crush, I remember obviously last year having a young team and starting off slow, like guys like Steele, who were older guys coming off of big knee injuries. He got off to a slow start. And it was probably like, I don't know, just right before Carrie. And we're there coaching. Me and Doug always sit next to each other right there, but on the kind of almost the on deck circle, pretty much. And we had a couple fans behind us, and they were just crushing us. And I remember looking at Doug. He looked at me. I was like, "Who's going to turn around first?" And I'm like, "Well, this is our old people." And I mean, like when he's talking about the environment, the hard place to play. And I feel like until you wear the uniform, until you experience this from either as a player or a coach, you have no idea.
I remember coming down there as the coach of Coral Shores, and like it. And no disrespect to my guys at Coral Shores, but like I still one of the most disappointing things as a coach of Coral Shores was us not being able to bring our A game down there to compete. I think whether they tried too hard or they got wrapped up in the atmosphere. I remember Steele's freshman year, we go down there, and Steele wasn't, I don't even know if Steele was there yet because he hurt his knee in ninth grade too. And one of my pitchers is going down the right field line, wants to climb the fence and start fighting guys. And I'm like, look, man, I get it. I've been there. I was a catcher and trying to run down there in 92 to get some ass. But like, you can't do that now. So we'll get your butt back over here. And I looked and I was like, the kids kept popping off. I'm like, it took every ounce of whatever you want to call it, maturity, character, whatever you want to call it, for me not to go over there. And I was like, I get this, but I said that was my biggest like disappointment in my group was like I felt like I didn't think we could win. I thought that we had a couple guys where could have gave us a shot through 5, and anything can happen in a baseball game. So, and I know we played you guys tough at Founders when Felix threw one night.
Yeah.
It meant the world to us. But at the same token, like I really wanted us to go down there and give our A game, win, lose, or draw. I thought it could have helped us a ton. And you ask every coach why they bring their teams down there is because they know they're going to benefit in the long run from in that atmosphere against that team, against that energy is something you can't put up. You can't quantify. You have to have your team go through it, and it makes them better in the long run.
You know, it's I've never thought of it this way, but I guess if there's any time to think about it this way, it would be today. And not in a cheesy way at all, but obviously there's levels to everything. But in high school, Key West is very similar to two places that you played, and the Yankees and the Red Sox, where they're behind you. They're going to give you everything as fans, going to be there every day. But if you're not playing good, like y'all were just saying, you're going to hear them in the stand. You're going to hear them chirping. You're going to hear them yelling. Kind of very similar. Now that I think about it, I never really kind of thought about that. And Key West fans are just like that.
You have an expectation. You have an expectation. Yeah. You built the tradition, and it's your job to carry on that tradition and that feel of that organization. And the passion goes two ways. I equate it to like today's athlete. Everybody wants the likes on social media, right? Mm-hmm. They want all publicity. But with that like comes expectations. And when you can't live up to the expectations, you want to turn it off. And by then it's too late. So you can't love all the likes on social media and know that around that corner, they're going to get on you. And it's just I always say it's the hard that makes it great. But I always said this, and I understand with passionate fan bases, they're going to boo you. I got booed at Yankee Stadium. I got booed a lot. But as soon as you did something positive, all is forgotten.
Yep.
It's not like that everywhere. I know the Mets fans, to me, weren't like that. At least, and I played god-awful for the Mets. But, like, I remember, and it wasn't even me I'm talking about. I remember Kaz Matsui. I'll never forget this. He was a second baseman, big signing from Japan. He came over the year before I got there, and he played okay. He didn't play great. He wasn't the other one on the other side. He wasn't Hideki. He was Kaz, a different type player, but he played okay, didn't play great. I remember opening day at home, they booed the crap out of him. Now he ties the game in the 7th and then wins it in the 9th. The next day, they announced the starting lineup. They call his name out. They booed it so you couldn't even hear his name. I'm like, oh my god! Like, this guy kill somebody? Like, what did he do? I'm new to this place. What's going on? So, like, but the point is, like, with Red Sox fans and Yankee fans, I felt like it took them longer to boo you, but as soon as you did something positive, all was forgotten.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that goes with the same in the stands of Key West. They could be sitting there griping about why you guys are putting on the bunt play or why you're taking a 3-0 and da-da-da. And then a guy hits one into the gap and bam, they're right there screaming and yelling with you.
There was nothing worse than Ralph and I would sit there and just, like, we'd hear it. I'm not deaf. Like, I hear it. And as a player, I would have told you a few choice words, and then I probably would have double-barreled you after a double. But, like, as a coach, it's like, they go over this stuff? I'm like, dude, every 3 minutes we go over this. Like, if you want to help, here's the fence, buddy. Come on over and try it. If not, shut up and enjoy the show. So I get the passion, and like Steele and I just talked about this at dinner. I was like, like losses never go away. Especially in a place like that. You don't think that Steele had had an extra drive because he wanted to win 12 before Westminster did? Like, you don't think it would have been cool? And I'm just a coach. I'm just a 1-year coach of trying to help out the program. You don't think like that still like it affects me daily? I mean, I'm thinking about like what could have been. Like to sit there and say that my son won number 12 for Key West and I helped Westminster win one of the 11. And like to say like that would have meant something to me, and like that's and I didn't really have a say in it, but it still keeps me up at night because I know that the group that we had last year with all we went through, we get through 3 more outs. You can I'll wear an 11 now, guys, not a 10.5 anymore, an 11 because that ring was coming on my finger because that's how we felt. We were getting better, and all the things we crushed from day one was finally starting to show up, and it was disappointing to see that was the last. Like I didn't get a chance to see them play anymore, and that still wakes me up in the middle of the night.
That's kind of crazy that you put that that way with Steele. Possibly could be winning 12 and one more than Westminster. I never thought of it that way. And wow, does it make sense a lot more, especially with some of the conversations me and Steele have had back and forth on text. And he says
he didn't tell me right away. He didn't tell me early. He told me because he got off to a really slow start after having a great spring. And about, I would say a month into the season, I kind of like, what's going on? Like, what? I've never seen you play like this. I've seen you do great and I've seen you do okay and I've seen you do bad. But I've never seen this. Like, what is it? And he finally, after weeks of me pushing him and pressing him, what is it? And he kind of let me in. And I'm like, look, man, you're looking at step 2000. Like, we're at step 2, bud. Like you need to just go play. Because one, you're a good player. And 2, they need you desperately just to be you. And I don't think you even got to see, you saw probably half of what Steele could do last year. But he finally understood what it's like to play in games that mean something. And that you can't put a price tag on. And to watch where he's gone to from that last year, even to now, he's a completely different player now. And it all has to do with what he went through last year wearing a Key West Conch uniform.
Crush, I'm pretty sure. I think from I want to say maybe Carey or like a week or two before, maybe the start of April, I think Steele ended up hitting like close to 500 for the rest of the year. And he pretty much just went off. And he became the guy that everybody thought that was going to happen the entire year. Obviously, coming off a major knee surgery, you're going to have your slow starts and you're going to have your issues. But then at one point, it went like that. Maybe that walk off from Carey, you saw the passion, you saw the emotion, you saw this person come out.
Well, I kept telling 17. I said 17. He's going to be your best hitter. He's going to be when the bell rings and the games really matter. He's going to be your toughest out. And trust me, it was painful for me to say that. And he looked at me like I was nuts. And I know your dad thinks I'm crazy now as it is, but I really had to say it. I kept saying it. And it was almost like to the point where was I telling myself to say that? But I know what's inside that boy. I know what makes him tick. And when everything is down and when it really matters most, he has always played his ass off. And I just knew, I was like, and that's what I kept telling him. This is why we're making this switch. It's because you're going to play in games that really mean something. And I know you, and I know what's inside you. I know your MO, and I know that when they need you the most, you're going to be there, and it's going to be remembered by more than just me and you. And when you have
Right.
it, I told him when he left, the day you left to go down there, I said, you understand this. All they need is one swing, and you'll never be forgotten. Need
Yep.
one swing.
Yep.
And he almost had it. And he almost
Right.
hit it. So he did. I mean, he hit a double instead of a homer, but like it was almost a homer. I said, you're one swing away from being remembered for the rest of your life. And you don't get that in a lot of places. And Key West is one of them.
Crush, not to sound cheesy or anything, but like ultimately, like my goal with these guys is to win 12. But then if I had to have a second thing, or if I can't have 12, is to have these guys experience playoff baseball in Key West. And what this community does behind this program, it's like nowhere else, man. And to be able to come here, even if it's only one game, two, or unless you're lucky, like a Wyatt and Lucky and them guys, and play 5 out of 6 at home or whatever it is, and you're like, man, I mean, it's truly, truly incredible place to play when things are clicking.
It's magical. It's magical. You can't tell me
Now,
that the fans didn't have anything to do with us coming back in the first game we played in the playoffs. They had everything to do with that.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
oh God, you got what was it?
Watch teams melt.
What was it? 2 games coming back by 4 or 3 or 4?
I mean, we were dead as a doornail. I mean, it was. You guys have been around the game enough. You guys feel it. I felt it for 5 innings. You felt it. Like, this is not how. And and the coach hat in me is like frustrated, disappointed, and then I got this dad slide. I'm like, I can't. I'm not gonna let. Is this how my son's high school career is gonna end? In this, like we just went through California, Cary, playing against the 3rd pick of the draft. And then we get, no offense, a team that we would absolutely wipe the floor with 9 out of 10 times, and we're in slow motion in 5 innings going, this is not how this is supposed to end. And I don't want it to end yet. And then a flick of the switch, one break goes our way, and then here comes the magic of Weech, right? And all of a sudden now it's like, one game, and then we turn around and come back from 4 down in the 7th against Gibbons going, those are the things that it's like we got a chance to write a book or produce a movie that we just didn't finish because the ending was already written. It just got stopped midway through because you come back at home like that. You come back on the road like that. We come home beating Gibbons. We beat the everlasting piss out of whoever we play the next 2 games.
Oh, we would have ran it.
It was like we got through our exhale moment, and now we don't stop. Like there's no doubt in my mind we 10 run whoever comes to play us at Rex when we come home after that because those kids felt like those kids were on cloud 9. They felt like they were invincible, and that's at that time of year that goes way beyond talent. When you have a belief and you can say, I'm down 5 in the 7th, no problem. I'll hold my beer. We'll be back in an hour. We got this. And that's what that team had at the end of the year.
No doubt.
Ralphie kind of pointed out at the beginning of the conversation when you first came down, coming from Westminster and getting on the field and taking it in. What was the experience like? But did you have a moment? I was actually at the game, but go up to Miami and play against Westminster. Was there a moment when you looked over and you're like, wow, that's my alma mater, and here I am over here, and my son's trying to beat him. Did you have any kind? I mean, something had to be like a little real feeling at that point.
Every time I step on the field, whatever uniform I want to bury you. I don't care I don't care if my mom's wearing a Westminster Christian jersey. I'm running her over too. That's just the way I was built. It's funny you say that. Steele and I keep bringing them up, but we had this conversation at dinner tonight. Like I'm very visual. I'm very seeing things happen before they happen. And I told him this tonight. I said he had an at bat with 1st and 3rd, I think, against Westminster down a run. And I remember
He popped up,
No, he punched out.
punched
And
out.
I literally told Nelly, I said, he's going to hit this ball in the gap, and you better effing score. And I saw the ball he hit against Gibbons. I just saw it against Westminster. So I saw it happening before it ever happened. So I just felt like if he swings, I told him tonight, if you swing first pitch, the ball you hit at Gibbons is at FIU, and you basically break Westminster's heart. And that's all I ever wanted. Like I as much as I love my high school and I love my alma mater, like I'd give everything I got and won at Westminster back to watch him get to get dog pile on the home field. So, I mean that I I see it happening. I mean he had like there's 2 at bats in his high school career that he wants back. I know it for a fact. He'll never admit it, but I know that at bat because I think it kind of not overwhelmed him, but he didn't understand the gravity of it at the time. I think, and there was also a game we were down a run against when we were playing for Coral Shores, and we had Felix on the ropes, and it was 5-4, and Steele punched out, and Felix punched him out, and it haunts Steele like it really it's one of those at bats that still pushes him to become better. And I said, Steele, you have those at bats throughout your life, that moments that you don't get the job done. And those are the moments that get you better. Those are the moments that drive you when you don't want to go hit in the cage. You don't want to go lift weights. Those are the at bats. Those are the at bats that make you. I always say great players and good players get better in the dark. And when no one's around, I said those are the moments that trigger you to become and challenge you to become that go up a grade in that player that you are.
He must be listening because he repeated those same things back to me through text about himself in Georgia now. That the Cardinal Gibbons game is literally thinking back to that every day is literally what gives him the extra push in the gym, what gives him the extra push when he's tired on the field. I mean, he told me that, and I was quite impressed. But now I know, I guess I know where it comes from.
Well,
That
I
was
mean, just that's. I mean, to reiterate the whole Key West thing, like here he is at Georgia Highlands, and Georgia Highlands is arguably a top 5 national junior college, and he's playing with some guys that are going. The one's going to Tennessee, went to Tennessee this year. One of their guys is going to Oklahoma State. Another guy might go to Vandy. So he's got some dudes around him, and like the arms that Steele faced last year, his teammates want to know about him. I said, "There's a reason." I always say the words. There's a method to there's a method to the madness, in everything I do, and like that was a big reason. I go, Steele, what you faced last year, when you get to junior college and you get to college, they're going to be the same. They're not going to be much better than what we ran into last year. So you've already seen it, and as a baseball player, right? When your eyes see it, it just becomes it's a ball again. It doesn't matter who's throwing it. It's like if you see 95 a couple times, it ain't 95 anymore. It's just a fastball. So that was the kind of the idea. And like Steele goes to junior college and starts banging balls all over Georgia Highlands, and it's like Steele's like, yeah, I saw this shit last year. Like I saw this in high school, and I'm like, I said the exact same thing. So there's a reason why I think our kids from Key West go on to places and they have some success because they're used to it. Like the competition they've seen already. I've always said this: if you take the 3rd tier baseball player from South Florida, and I'm including Key West in that Miami type mentality, you'll win a conference championship in almost every conference you can think of, outside of maybe the SEC. It's just the way they're just different. They're built
right.
they're built different. There's a snarl to this kid that comes from this area that you can't quantify. You can't find it. You can don't give me your exit velo. I don't give a damn how hard you throw. I know my will to win will shit all over your exit velo, and that's
Right.
how I breed the kids that I coach. And that's there's a defense for every offense and an offense for every defense. You just got to find it.
No, I mean that was the same with our. Maybe you've heard Ralphie say this a couple times. But I don't know if he has or not. But same with our '96 team. I mean, screw the exit velocities. Screw the guys that throw 90 mile an hour. Screw the guys that throw 95. We did it with guys that throw 78, 75, 84, and did it well. So exactly to the point of what you're saying.
just, I mean, you want to make it, it's like, oh, you want to take, I remember our guys would be like, even in high school, guys I played with would be like, some guy was going to University of Miami, committed to Miami, and like, guy would hit one across the street and be like, take that shit to UM. That's the way our guys thought. Like, oh, you're going to UM? Bill, you're not playing, you stink. But that was the mindset of the group that I was around, and they try to like, and that's kind of how I try to breed steel. It's like you respect your opponent, but I'm still trying to hit a line drive off your skull. That's just the way it is. It's just the way I was born. I was raised. Like you might have a better career than I do, but I know I'll get the best of you, and that today, and that's kind of how, that's the one thing I think our kids last year were just young. We didn't have that snarl out of our older guys that the Key West normally has. Like, right. I just remember the guys like Jolly and those guys were like, they were bigger than life. I mean, because Jolly hit 2 home runs against Westminster. And you're like, whoa, who's this Jolly guy? And you see, oh, wait, that's him. You can tell. You know what I mean? Like, but their guys had some, like, they weren't intimidated by us. And I go back to Westminster. We won so many games just taking infield. I mean, just announcing the starting lineup. They would just look over and like, they looked like they saw a ghost. Well, like Key West didn't give 2 shits who A-Rod was. They're like, they don't care. They didn't care. Oh, you're going to Florida State. You're going to Miami. You're going to Miami. You're going to where? You're going to Florida State. We don't give a damn about that. Like I went to Miami Subs and had a steak and cheese. Like I don't give a damn what you do. And that's those are the guys. To me, those are the guys you want in life, right? Those are the guys like, hey, I don't give a damn what I don't care what accolades you have. We both we're here at the same place. And I'm here to win a game. I don't give a damn what cover of Baseball America you're on, but it was amazing. Like Key West was one of the and I don't think that 92 team was one of the better ones. No. But still, I mean, trust me, Coach, like I said, I go back to what I said earlier. Coach Hoffman didn't give, he never talked about the opponent. He talked about us going on to Key West. He made it adamant about he challenged us, and he didn't have to challenge us much, but he made sure we knew what we were walking into when we went down
there. Right. Yeah. And a lot of that, from what we got in the show of earlier guys from the 60s and 70s, I think Key West got it because back in the 60s and 70s when you would travel to Miami, you go to Miami now, there's, 15, 20 people in the stands depending. But back in the 70s, every Miami game, away game, was like that. People banging like pots and pans and a thing, and crowd full yelling at them. And I think Ralphie, would you probably agree with that? I mean, that would be how Key West got the rowdiness. I think. I mean, if they're playing Miami, we play in Miami that's where we're playing. I could see how it comes from that.
You guys also had the 38-inch strike zone too. Like it was like. If you threw it like in the circle, it was a strike. You're like, whatever, dude. Like, all right, I get it. From here, come on, man. Like, just don't make. If it bounces twice, can you at least call that a ball? Like, can he throw one? And we're throwing it into like a teacup ball. I'm like, what don't matter, dude? JD, just keep throwing up here, dude. They'll miss it. But I remember that, like, damn, like this guy's serious. Like so when everybody, it's funny to hear it from both sides. You hear a Key West guy say we got to go to Miami. Oh, the strike zone's huge.
Oh, for sure.
So you go to Key West, you're like, damn, dude. If you just throw it you enter the gate at Rex Weech, it's a strike. It was crazy. It was like you had to beat out anything by like 8 steps. Ow, my damn, dude. Like it's bad.
Until the Broward umpires.
Dude, we said the same thing. Every time we go play at Columbus, I swear to you, our zone is so big. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's like the same thing he's saying, we say.
Yeah, but Columbus, they're trying to get into heaven. That's the only way they can get in.
Wow. I got to see with my own eyes Columbus. That's one of the games I went to, and you have the umpires going around and patting the guys, literally the players on the ass and talking to them, and I'm like, what? Is this really going on in front of us?
That's crazy,
they gave
man.
a home run and they're chest bumping the umpires. They cross home plate. Yeah, awesome. And I'm like, they're worried about you snapping pictures in the dugout. I'm like, you need to focus on the damn strike zone.
Yeah,
Father.
Yeah.
Hey, Father, focus on the strike zone, buddy. Like,
yeah, that was
Columbus guys always they're soft as baby shit. Like they never make it anywhere after high school.
Yeah, I played with a couple
That's
guys
awesome.
after in college that went to Columbus, and it's exactly right the way you just described. So,
What happens if you don't have any girls in your high school? You gotta have somebody.
right, right. um, yeah, it's just a different environment. I mean, even in where you came from Westminster, just the crowd difference. It's really hard to explain on the show and have people grasp it. And like you said a little bit earlier, unless you really actually experience it, you don't. A lot of people might watch the show and go, "They're absolutely insane." They're like, "There's no way that a high school program has this much, you know, aura, great aura around it." But it's true, and if you experience it, you'll know a little bit better. I mean, that's the only way. It's a little bit hard to explain to people, right, Ralphie, that have never experienced it.
I would say so. It's definitely a lot different than what people are accustomed to. I think the biggest thing here would be the expectation. Anytime
Right,
you wear a KW hat or a uniform, like you're expected to win.
right,
Even last year, I mean, I know we had the three big arms, but predominantly we were freshmen and soft, pretty much freshmen. Now you think about it, and it's like, but the expectation is still win. If you don't win, it's going to be a long ride. And thank God these kids started to figure out about halfway through, and it ended up being a pretty, I guess, successful year for the most part for with the young players that we had.
yeah. What is your saying been lately, Ralphie? That you wish you had? Which is it? You wish you had this year's what with last year's what?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't want to jinx this year's group yet, but I mean, these guys, we take a lot different BP right now compared to last year. It's almost like I know this year we have I guess the pitching is just it's inexperience. We're not sure what's going to happen yet because these guys haven't done it yet. You got a lot of young arms, talented kids for their age and their class, but we just don't know what to expect yet. And offensively, you got a lot of bats returning. You got the Romans, the Nelsons, you got Cade and Pichardo's plus swinging it well. Sammy Holland's really starting to click. You got some young kids. You got Cade Moult, a freshman. You got some guys that are they're going to move the ball. They're a pretty exciting group. We'll just kind of see how pitching is going to hold up and see how they enjoy being challenged.
Doug, did you get a little bit used to Friday nights under the lights in Key West? And I say that because now are you kind of going? Well, tonight's Friday night, as a matter of fact. I mean, are you you got to miss it a little bit, right? I mean, because it's. I know you had to drive
Yeah, I
down, and I know
do.
that was
It's all right. I mean, I want to be there more than I am now. My schoolwork has kind of got me locked in a little bit, but I'm still planning on going down there as much as I can, just because I feel like some of like those kids I've had for going on 5 years now. I mean, with Sammy and a couple, the work never stops, and you want to see them do well. You want to see them mature, and once you're a part of something, you feel like you're a part of it, and you help a little bit. But you want to, like I said, the Friday night down there, I can't tell you how excited I would be driving down, knowing there's a game tonight, and like
right.
knowing like you're gonna have a chance to, like I said, there's not too many places in high school baseball where you play a season long where one swing can change everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have one memorable hit. Like every 6-year-old that's running around there, 8-year-old is going to remember that till
Yep.
they're playing there. And
No.
that's like, you can't say that in a lot of places. I mean, you could probably say Texas high school football, right?
Right.
Where you can become a legend. Well, Key West, I mean, it's a smaller town, but you would never know that on a Friday night.
Right.
Like Westminster, we didn't have that. I mean, granted, a lot of them were scouts and they weren't cheering, but like the reality of it is, they didn't like. There's another high school like a 9 hour away in Miami. Yeah, we went on the road and we went to Naples and wherever the hell we went. We went to California too. Like, granted, trust me, when we went on the road, we always said we were the Beatles because there it was what we had to do that against us everywhere we went, not at home.
Right.
So being able to put that uniform on and understand that I just wish we could have somehow got off to a better start because I think as much as everybody gets behind that team, I think the momentum, if we could have kicked that momentum in about 3 weeks earlier, like it would have been an avalanche of we ain't losing again. And I think our kids kind of would have felt that a little sooner. I think it would have been. I think it would have helped us a little bit because we were young. I mean, we had kids that did like were experienced stuff for the first time. Steele's a senior, but he
Bunch
still
of
experienced this stuff as for his first time. But I was the one pushing Steele to be like he would come to me and be like, I want to say this. I'm like, this is your team, bud. I said, these guys, you've played with these guys since 8th grade, like at some capacity. Like, don't waste another second. If there's something that needs to be said that you think you don't like, you want to make a difference, do it now. You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you don't start now. And I said, I know what, the relationship you had with Augie up the middle. And Augie was, as a freshman, was a huge help to Steele, playing second base for the first time in his life. So that's type of stuff you don't get everywhere. Like you don't get that kind of, and I wanted my son to experience the whole thing, the community, the teammates, 17, Ralphie, like I wanted him to experience all this because I just felt like, and I told him this and he told me this finally, he goes, I wish I would have been able to go sooner. And that to me, that statement speaks volumes about everything, the community, the school, the field, the tradition, the coaching staff, everything. Jack, Lissette, all of them. Like that's they all, and Jack and Lissette have been phenomenal with him forever because they've known him forever. But like little Jackie, like him and Steele are inseparable. Like he has friends up here, but it's different when you're teammates and when you go to battle with each other. That's lifelong stuff. That and him and Anthony talk 3 times a week, if
Right.
not daily. So that stuff's priceless, man. This game is so much about numbers, but it goes so way beyond that. It's the relationships you build throughout the course of the game. That your '96 team, you guys talk all the time. You have to.
Yep.
It's
Right.
you'll be forever connected for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then relationships in baseball go way beyond how many hits you got or how many strikeouts you posted on the mound.
Crush. I
I would.
remember last
Go ahead.
I don't know, last January, December, sometime around there, when Steele was coming, and then Doug finally started coming pretty much 2 3 days a week. In the beginning, he came every day, and then he started coming 2 3 days a week, and they were asking me, "Yo, this guy Doug, he's crazy." And I'm like, yeah. If anybody that knows Doug, like if you're gonna hang out with him, you got to be tough. And he would get Augie in the cage. And as soon as you said Augie's name, I started to think about it. And he would get Augie in his cage and he would challenge Augie beyond Augie's ever been challenged. And if anybody that knows Marcus knows that Marcus is all over Augie like all day long. Like this guy blinks wrong and Marcus is ready to come up. And for real. And like to see like and that just now when you were talking about it, and I look back and think about where Augie was last year at this time when he first started working with you and how you guys would get in the box and work about, hey, stand like this, move your hands like that, and to see where he's come now in the last year. I don't know. It really excites me as part of the growth of these players. And but I think the biggest thing that these kids could take away, Crush, from Doug in the 1 year he was here, is obviously the stories, the experiences, the mechanic stuff. But for me, it's a mindset. For me, like you hear a guy that he's won a World Series, he's got an Olympic gold medal, he's done all these things, all these accolades, but no matter who he's playing, is we're gonna beat every single day. And when you go out there and play, it's because you're gonna win. And I think that's still it's still here today. And these kids have learned how to work. They learn how to. I don't know. I mean, basically every day I practice, I just say, "Here's the schedule. This is what we're doing. Let's go do it." And these kids are pretty much like clockwork. They love to work, and once in a while you got to challenge them. But
I try to bring him. I would say it to him every night. I'd say they're like, we're here to do our job. We're here to do our work, and they're in our way.
Right.
Get them out of the way. Like go through them. And that was kind of what we you try to get to, because I mean, again, like you talk about Augie, and like Augie, like you saw a ghost when he first got there, hitting wise. I'm like, Augie, you can hit, man. Like you gotta like that look you have on your face. We got to get rid of that, buddy. Like you're the starting shortstop for Key West High. Okay, like come on, man, we need you. And just like that type of stuff, stop worrying about making a mistake and go make a play. It's completely different.
Yeah.
You know, we used to talk about all the time, like, do I have practice? I'm going to practice, or we have practice today. It's the same sentence. How do you say it?
Exactly.
Am I going? You know, and that's hey. Like I tell them every night. I don't care. I don't care if we're playing the AAA A's. Like when you guys put that uniform on, you become like superhuman, and there's nothing you can't do. And that's just the way. And they're in our way. Remove them. Go through them. Not around them. Go through them. And when you get that mentality, you'll start to understand. I tell everybody too to this day, like I don't expect you to get me. I don't expect you to get me. I'm not for everybody. And I don't know if I'll make you physically better, but I know I'll make you mentally tougher. And at the end of the day, the mentally tough kids are the ones that last. And I'm not talking about just baseball. Life will kick you in the nuts as many times as you want it to. It's a matter of it's what you do after you get kicked in the nuts and how you perform. So, you know, that's kind of the way, hey man, it's a eat or be eaten.
Right.
I'm living proof that you can survive on grit and determination over talent any day of the week.
Right.
Like I'll take you. Like I said, I'll take your 9.5 perfect game rating and wipe my ass with it because I'm 50 years old and I'll still turn your shit around. Yeah, that's just my mind, and I know I can do it. So that's how we try to teach. I try to bring them a snarl. Like that's, you know, everybody has snarl when things go well. How do you get it when things aren't?
We actually talked about that on the when we did the little fantasy team, greatest of of all time, fun greatest of all time, Key West. We actually talked about that, and one of my points was it was a second baseman, and we're talking about grit, and I chose a guy that I played with, Bobby Lowe. Did he have any stats to write home about? Absolutely not. But was he a guy that's he's gonna be the grittiest player on the field? He's gonna put his nose in everything, and he's gonna come to every day to win. I chose that guy over a guy that played at UT, ended up going to play with Rangers, But it was because of the grit. So I was just going off of what you're saying. You'll take a grittier guy over a guy that's 5 tool and all this hype.
Yep. Give me 18 gritty kids. We'll never lose a game. You might beat us, but we'll never lose a game.
Right. I try to. I think both of you guys can agree. When I played, we didn't have as many home games. But I would like to get that to the younger guys or the guys that are on the team this year. How many home games do you guys have this year, Ralphie?
This year we are 23 or 24 out of 27 at home. It's crazy.
Well,
only 3 road
would
games.
Would you say, Doug, that you try to get through to those kids how much of an advantage that can be? I mean, to play at home that many times as opposed to playing away half the time, you gotta take advantage of it.
It goes back to at Steel. I was like, this is one of the main things I tried to tell him to portray to the team that was there already. Like you have an advantage of being a visitor against them and understand and appreciate this is your only year here. Don't take it for granted. Don't take anything for granted. Every Friday night is priceless. Every Saturday night is priceless. Every home game you have is priceless. Every game you play is priceless. So my point to that was like, Steel, let them. Sometimes you got to remind them, man. Like everybody's always in a rush to get out of where they already are, right? You're in high school, you can't wait to get to college. College, you can't wait to get into pro ball. And then when you get to pro ball, you do everything you possibly can to go back to college. It goes way easier. So, I was like, don't take for granted any moment. And I think last year's team, we would win on Friday night, throw out a dumper on Saturday, or get kind of upset on Friday, respond on Saturday. We lacked that killer instinct in the sense of defend your turf at all costs. And I think this year's team will be different, than last year's team. I think they understand that now. There's nothing worse in sports than watching another team celebrate on your field.
Right.
Especially at Rex.
Right.
Like, you take that shit personal. I only wore it as a coach, and I'm like, I'm about to go choke slam that guy because he just act right, but that's the aura, that's the responsibility of being a conch. That's the responsibility of the people that put this jersey on, that has created this tradition. You owe it to them to put your best foot forward. I think sometimes, and especially today's world, right? They're on social media. They can't wait to put out their, I committed to blah, blah, blah. I want to thank God and all my family. And, it's like on Chat GBT. I need a acceptance speech to, I got to
All my
accept
travel
it.
coaches.
Right. And travel coaches and my personal coach and blah, blah, blah. But hey man, like be where your feet are at. Stay here right now. Like stay here. Like you'll never play a game. And if you're lucky, you will, maybe if you go to the SEC or the ACC, but on a Friday night, knowing you got everybody behind you, it's pretty cool. There's not a lot of places you go in college where you're going to have 1,500 people going nuts for you every time. It's not like that everywhere. So I know it's hard because they're 17, 16, 15 years old. But that's kind of where I was at when I think last year's team, it's like our mistakes that killed us last year, base running, right? And I told our guys, and I use this too. I have two stories. I lost a championship game in A-ball on an intentional walk. We were intentionally walking a guy and we threw it off the screen. And the closer came into me. The closer came into me and he was crying. And he's like, I said, Zach, I promise you this. Every year from spring training from now on, when you go through those BS where they do it after you throw hitters for the first time and they work on pitch outs and ball fours, you'll put a little more effort into it knowing because you went through this. Now, the base running blunders last year, I'm hoping that this year's team understands the importance of, I told Steele tonight, you realize we only had their pitcher only got us out 14 times out of a 21 out game. We gave up 7 outs on the bases. Think about that. I said, so sometimes you got to go through some really difficult experiences to learn from it. So hopefully now when we go over base running with this year's team and some of the young guys or new guys aren't paying attention, some of the guys that had to watch that last year and go through it and realize that cost us a state championship, you'll have a little more emphasis on the detail stuff that the coaches go over with moving forward.
I have a question for you. Talking about grit, I'd like to know the grittiest player that you played with at Westminster, Westminster, grittiest player that you played with at Florida State, and then grittiest player that you played with in pro ball.
Oof, those are tough ones. I would say Westminster. I would say that whole team had grit. Lewis Lance, who's a cop now, played left field. Guy hit 420 and he got DH'd for. Would run through a fence for a ball. I would say Hugo Bosk hit 2-hole. And Hugo's son played at Westminster. I think he went to FIU and then went somewhere else. But Hugo was the only guy that didn't hit it over 400, but he had like a 500 on base percentage. And he was not the fastest, but he would do anything we needed him to do. He'd get drilled by pitches all the time. Did whatever he could to get on base. Just guys like that are priceless. College, Randy Hodges, our right fielder from Ocala, he would run through the brick wall for you, legitimately. Roommate of mine. We had a lot of them. Mickey was one of them. Kuro, Zabala was a little baller. John on the mound, Jonathan Johnson. Jonathan Johnson, to me, if I had a game out of all the guys I played with, including the big leagues, if I had to win one more game for me to live my life, I would take Jonathan Johnson every day of the week and twice on Sunday. This guy literally in the ACC tournament one year started a game against Wake Forest. He first inning, no runs. Second inning, we score 8 or 9 runs in the second inning. He goes up to 11 and says, "Take me out." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Take me out." 11's like, "For what?" And he's like, He goes, I'm starting tomorrow against Clemson. Not a bad idea. He started back-to-back days because he wanted Clemson. Like that's to me, it just was the end all be all. In the big leagues, man, there were so many of them. Gosh almighty.
There's got to be one that sticks out. It'll pop in your head, I'm sure.
Torrey Hunter. I mean, a lot of them were like that. I mean, my gosh. I only played with Nick Punto for a few months, but he was one of them. I mean, my Twins teams were AJ Przinsky.
Yep.
I mean, to me, it was he created a snarl on your team that it's kind of hard to duplicate. But
and he had that before. He had that before the head hits and the runovers, right? He started out minor league ball with that same kind of mentality, right?
You wanted to kill him and you wanted to love him at the same time. I mean, he found a way. You can't say between the lines. I mean, he wanted to win at all cost, and that's and I mean, Shannon Stewart's. I played Little League with him all the way through high school.
He's from Miami?
Yep, he went to Southridge.
I didn't know that. No way.
There's our district had Alex Gonzalez, Andy Barquette, and Shannon Stewart. Oh yeah, and by the way, a guy by the name of Raul Ibanez he was at Sunset. So
he was okay.
He wasn't bad. But I mean, like I'm trying to think of guys Billy Millers of the world. I mean, like those guys, Dave Roberts. I mean, like there was grit all over the place. I'm like, I try to think of it as I've always said this about like a guy like Billy Miller. If David Eckstein, if you gave me 25 Billy Millers, we'd never lose a game. We'd get beat. We'd never lose. I always say this too. Like there are guys that nobody really wants from April to September, but everybody wants them in October. Those are my guys. Those are the guys I want because the situation is not going to overwhelm them, and that's and that's kind of how try to coach, right? You try to coach them in situations where you try to give them every scenario you possibly can, and I want 9 guys when the world's burning down around them can function, and right. I have winners.
Yeah, they said, and I think you played with him a little bit, but they said Scott Rowland was a lot like that.
I didn't play with him, but I played against him.
Alongside,
yes, He was, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I played against were like that. I mean, my gosh, there's a ton of them. Tome, a guy you don't think of as gritty, but Canerco, Canerco,
yeah,
hit after big hit, just like you look at the teams that win the World Series, like the White Sox of 05, like that whole team, Joe Creedy, they had some dudes like they had grit, they could like our Red Sox team. I mean, Tim Wakefield wore spikes every game. Without Tim Wakefield, we don't win the World Series.
Right.
Without Derek Lowe, we don't win. There's so many guys that you could say that about. And
I think he's in the picture behind me. I don't know if he's still pitching or not, but
Johnny Damon. Johnny he's kind of a flashy with the hair, but Johnny played hard. Like I look at it, guys that played hard. Guys that Darren Erstad. I mean, those guys were talented as hell, but my goodness gracious, they could Chipper was a grinder. But had superstar talent. He went to the post every day. He went to the post every night. I think that gets overlooked, especially in the big leagues. I mean, those guys, you think of them as like Bobby Abreu. You don't think of him as like a grit type of guy, but the dude played every day. He played every day. It takes a lot to get your body ready to go and every day and keep going and still play at an elite level. Posada, Veritek, those guys.
Veritek, yeah.
I watched Veritek for 4 months, whatever. Played against him in high school, played against him in college. But this dude would catch 4 days a week, got his off day against Wakefield. And when Wake came out, Tech went in. And Tech would squat, do his leg workout the day he wasn't starting. And then he ended up in the game in the 5th or 6th inning every time. And that's, Posada was the same way. Those guys were just, like, I was lucky to play in an era that, like, there were some, you got AJ, you got Posada, you got Veritek, those guys were like Piazza. Those guys were like I don't put like Posada and Veritek to me. Those guys are just like they were like immortals, man. Like they went to the post every damn night and they caught their ass off. And AJ too. AJ played. I don't know. He had a streak of most innings caught for a decade, and that's something he took pride in. And that's something I think that goes out the wayside now with we got load management and all this other crap. And but thinking back to AJ, like Joe Mauer, right? Joe Mauer doesn't even know that he kept AJ going in his career because, AJ got traded away because of Joe Mauer. And yet Joe's a Hall of Famer, but that little edge kept AJ wanting to be more and wanting to be better and wanting to keep playing and wanting to outplay him and wanting to play longer and whatever it takes that gives you that edge. I think that edge now, there's not a lot of edgy players anymore.
Right.
I think it's a dying like
Dying breed.
It's a breed, or it's a dying characteristic that
Right.
that's not there and that was not there anymore. Think Ralphie, how many guys do you play with in high school? Like they all they cared about was winning. Like that.
That's all that mattered.
That's all they cared
Back
about.
then, there was no social, there was no Twitter,
Right.
there was none of that stuff. You just went and played, and you want to represent QS.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
But you
I don't
wanted
know,
to be in the
it was
paper.
different.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, seriously. I mean, we didn't have social, but we were waiting for that next paper to come out. That next front page. I mean,
Dade County had the damn top 10 averages, and I would remember vividly looking at it, going, "I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy." And I'd be like, "I got to get my
probably
name up there."
Miami Herald you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm like, this guy hits 3 ground balls in the shortstop, and they call it hits. I'm like, hang on a second. Like, what are we doing? But that was an edge that I had to find. I had to find, I had to find something to make me tick, and whatever. And I had to find it daily. I had to find a villain that's against me to make me work, and to make me not quit, not want to take no for an answer.
Right. Yeah, and so are you hoping to go on? Do you have any kind of coaching possibly in your future? And after, I know you got some school going on right now, but are you looking to coach again?
Yeah, I'm hopefully my degree will be finished. I'm 90% done. I got probably this spring, and I think I have one class this summer, and then I'm looking to try to start college coaching. I think that's the only level that I haven't done, and I'm looking forward to it. I'd like a crack at it. I think I know some people that could really help and get this thing rolling. I just feel like the pro ball experience was great, and now looking at the college landscape, it's never been more like pro ball than it is right now. So having that background should be a benefit and should be beneficial to the job. I am going to try to, obviously, Ralphie knows that if he needs me, I'll go down there. But I know Coral Shores has a new guy here in Coral Shores, and some of the guys that I'm working with up here are still playing there. So I don't know how much I'll do, but if I'll help the kids. But I definitely, I just like helping out and passing on the stuff that we've learned, and I enjoy the banter with the guys. I enjoy, ribbing them and making fun of them at times, and kind of trying to find ways to ignite something that they don't know they have yet. That's like poke the bear, like Augie. We made the example of Augie. I'm trying to do stuff to where he looks at me like, this dude's nuts. Like I remember being in the cage with him when he's hitting. I'm like holding his shirt, and he's looking at me like, can I swing? I'm like, look, man, you ain't gonna hurt me with that swing if you hit me. Just swing. Like, trust me, I've done this before. Like, you're not going to hit me. Like, and it's a trust thing, right? It's a you gain trust with them. And the last thing I don't want is and that's what I tried to convey to 17 last year. And even Ralphie was like, I want to gain trust in you guys and gain trust with the players. I don't just want to be like, okay, my son's going all out. Like, that's not why I did this. That's not why I helped in the summer. Like, I didn't I didn't help them at conch ball just because my son was on there. Like, yes, I was there, but I want to help those guys. I want to, I want to be able to, help them in the future. I know Anthony texted me the other day, and like that stuff never stops. We go back to relationships. So those relationships never stop. I'll help
Right.
whoever I've come across and help them in any way I possibly can. And that's what this game has given to me, and that's what someone did for me. And I feel like it's a duty and it's a responsibility as a player and a coach is to pass it along to whoever is willing to accept the knowledge that I've learned and the experiences I've had.
Right. That's good stuff. Well, I don't know, Ralphie, you got anything? I mean, of course we could sit here and go for hours. I'm saying, do you have anything else that
we need to get Jack on here too while we're doing
right?
this.
Exactly.
I talked to him tonight. I was going to try to get him on, and he wanted to come on, but Gilda's got a Christmas party tonight, and there's no phones allowed, so he couldn't do it. But he said he definitely wants to get on.
Anybody but Miss Hilda. Miss Hilda, when she says,
you can't tell her no.
You say, "Oh, hi, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, I get it." It's the only person I've ever seen to be able to control Jack. It's his mother.
Yep, that's true. Both nows controls them well, and they listen.
Yeah.
Randy and Jack. Well, Doug, I want to thank you for coming on.
Of course.
I really appreciate it, especially it was on a short notice. That was pretty clutch.
I'd love to do that. You know me. You can always count on me. I love this stuff. I watch you guys all the time, so I get a kick out of this stuff. Steele and I watch it. Madison and I watch it. So we, like I said, we were very fortunate that you guys welcomed us into, that little, whatever you call it, community, call it the conch world, whatever you call it down there. Yeah, the Key West. I remember back when I first came down there in college, and Jack said he said everybody that introduced me to was like, any friend of Jack is family of mine.
Right.
And that statement stuck with me since 1992 or 93, and like it still rings true today. So yes, I live in Almirada, but I still feel like I was a small help. I enjoy being a part of for only 1 year, but I enjoyed being a part of this, and I enjoyed every second of wearing that conch jersey.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I told Ralphie this. We talked about it, but I told even my girlfriend. I was honestly blown away when I saw the short clip. You got a guy on, one of the top college coaches in baseball today, and the first thing I see is the KW. I'm like, man, out of all hats he could have wore, that's pretty cool for me. I know it was pretty cool for Ralphie. I think Jack said the same thing, but it just stood out and man, brought a smile to my face. So.
There's a method to the madness. I say it all the time. Hey, man. Like, what's that KW? You don't know? Like,
right.
Let me help you. Let me help you. There's some dudes down there. You might want to check them out.
No, they're coming. I promise they're coming.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have a good team. I'm telling you, Doug. We need to get you down here in January when we get back from the break, and I'm excited for you to see these guys and how much they've grown, how much they developed. I know it's BP, but I mean, we got 5-6 guys that hit them out in BP now. Our place is a graveyard, and to see these guys do this now, and you're like, okay, that's different. Trying to get here, little Jackie getting ready to catch this year. He'll be his first year catching as a sophomore. Trying to teach him how to lead and how to take charge and basically be that guy everyone looks at. Like if you go, they go. Like I said, there's a lot of learning, a lot of development still going on, but at the same time, these guys are growing, man, and watching them get better. And Roman's back now; he's starting to hit and take his ground balls, and he's doing well. And getting these guys ready to play, they're gonna be an exciting group.
Well, it'd be nice to come down and not have to fix anything. That's usually it's like it's like, look, man, you got to help me with this guy. This guy's lost his damn mind. You got to help me with this. Like, and now you got to be scared to come down there. Like, I don't want to. I'll be sitting in the stands in the binoculars going, okay, I can come on now. I ain't messing anything up.
Definitely.
You told me. I remember when Steele went there. Steele was banging balls all over the field in the spring, and I'm like, I ain't coming down there. Like, I don't know who went down there, but that ain't my kid. Like that, my kid ain't bagging shit like that. Like, no, he's doing great. I'm like, come on, man, stop blowing smoke. He's like, no,
No.
man, he's raking. And I'm like, then I ain't going anywhere near the practice field. Like, he finally got away from me and was like, get this old crazy man off my back, dude. I'm free. Like Shawshank when he crawled through the tunnel of shit. He's like, oh my God, I'm free. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm excited to see. You always like to see the guys. I always feel like that 9th to 10th grade change is the biggest jump physically. You know, they're trying to do things that like you're trying to teach a baby fawn to walk at 9th grade. I mean, like unless they're your Nellies and Garcia, those guys are different, right? They were more like physical than most 9th graders, right? But like, Augie was, a baby fawn. Like he had, he's got size 14 shoe and
now he's grown about 4 or 5 inches this offseason. I mean, he has sprouted up.
You're trying to get them to do things their body physically won't let them do because they're just not. Right. They're like that. They're going through puberty, that maturity stage where they're growing and they don't quite know what their body's doing. And now you start to see that 10th grade, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, man, that's okay. Because we also, like for Augie example, like he did things at shortstop that those were pretty like mature, educated movements he was making at short. Timing, time clock, exchange. Like you see it. And if you have that at 9th grade, like I told him last time, like you're doing the hard part. The hard part's the timing of the speed of the game. You have that naturally at shortstop. Yeah, hitting wise, you once you go into some man strength, it's going to change some things. So I'm excited. We saw it with Sam. Sam was the same way. I mean, like, the ball used to stop Sam's bat. And
he's
like
driving
now he's driving the crap out of it. So like I said, you almost look back as like a kind of like a dad. You look at these kids, and I got a couple of Cole Shores who are like Theory, and those guys are like, damn, like you can watch these kids since they were 6 years old. And now you're starting to see them grow, and you're like, this is pretty cool. So
it was.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the jump they make from last year.
No, it was cool.
Right.
We played a practice game last night, and I rode Nelly pretty hard last fall because I felt like the guy that he ended up being in the spring is who is who he always had in him. But he would flash it and then pull back. He'd flash it and pull back. And then obviously this fall it's a lot different. The guy had 30 hits as a freshman, did what he did. And the practice game last night, after the game was over, he had Caden in the box. And he's like, when I'm in this box, I just let the ball travel and I try to hit as hard as I can the other way. And I turned around and I looked back and I said, yo, that's a 15-year-old kid saying this right now. And I'm like, here he is. And now these guys are getting to the point where they're talking hitting, they're talking pitching. It's different conversations. And I'm like, man, this is pretty cool.
They're out
And
of
to
the
see
womb.
these guys grow, yeah. And like, I'm like, dude, we still got 3 more years of this group.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
like, these
not
guys are going to be really
common.
good.
That's not
No,
too
I'm
common to
telling
have
you.
the 10th grader,
Yeah.
feeling that comfortable to be able to, and not in a cocky way, just in a way of just talking it.
Exactly.
We had Nelly last spring. He didn't get a hit, I don't think, in the spring.
Yeah.
And then he didn't make it out the first 2 weeks. And it's like, and nothing, he never stopped. It's just like, you can, like, you just keep it simple, bud. And like, and then you also have some fear when they have success, right? Like, don't try to be, and I've told everybody, including Steele, I tell it to myself, the years that I didn't do well, I try to do more than what I did the year before. Yeah, we want to do better, but sometimes in the cage, don't do it better, do it the same, because that's as good as it gets. You try to continue, like what is baseball? Consistency.
Repetition.
You try to do it better, you screw it up. Because you can't do it better, just do it the same. Sometimes the same is good enough. And like Nelly, just do the same thing you did last year. Your natural strength and maturity will create what you want. Don't try to be somebody you're not. And I think in this game, more than anything else in sports, when you try to be something you aren't, bad shit happens. And I think more players get lost that way than the other way around. So that's good to hear that, because he always had a really good idea what he was doing. He just was too, I don't know if he was 9th grade or afraid or didn't want to overstep his boundaries. But like, if you can hit, and
Combination of all.
and you have knowledge of it, I don't give a damn if you're 5 years old.
Right.
Preach it, scream it. That's what
Hit for a
teammates
long
do.
time. Exactly.
You know, we told them the guys last year. I don't care if you're ninth grade. You guys have this. Like, we've created this stigma that the leader has to be a senior. No, it doesn't. It can be a ninth grader.
Right.
It can be the bat boy, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where it comes from. Like, if you're ninth grade and you're playing, I mean, Javi last year,
Yeah.
Javi was our freaking snarl and our backbone. I was screaming to play him more last year because I was like, damn, dude, like this, I don't care. We're playing so bad, it doesn't matter. Like, let him go. He gets one chance a game and does something well every night. So, and like, you need guys like that. Like, I expect great things out of him because you know, there's one
Absolutely.
thing is his effort's never gonna stop. There's your
Dude.
grit. There's your grinder.
Yep.
Like,
Javi's became a guy that can play anywhere on the field, and you know he's
And
going to
that's
play his balls
beautiful.
off. Yes.
that's exactly right. You're never gonna doubt Javi's effort. And when you
Ooh.
get guys like that, and that not only his effort, but when he feels someone isn't giving the same effort he will let you know. And he let you know
Exactly.
last year. And those guys are hard to come by. So like that's what I mean. That's what this culture has created. Like it, you try not to use negative into a like as a motivating thing, but there were some pretty down faces last year. Like those moments don't leave you. Like that's like thinking about that game at Cardinal Gibbons, that drive home, crying. Like, use that. I don't want to feel this shit ever again. You know what I mean? Like Javi got picked off, and it's like, hey man, like without you, we don't get here. But use this in a positive way. Move forward.
Now that you're saying the hobby thing, let me write that down. Hobby, he's the first on the list because this is the second annual Crusher Maniac Award. Thank you for that's my first listed guy.
I mean, Turner, Maltz's boy. I'm like, there's just, you can tell to me, this year's team has more of that old school Key West feel to it than last year's team.
No doubt.
There's some, like, you got to remember, like a lot of these kids, I mean,
Still
think
young.
about Kids Day. Think about Kids Day. We have Kids Day and they throw out the first pitch.
Mhm.
By the way, every kid threw a freaking strike last year, which is
Never threw a ball.
which is more than what you can say for our pitching staff did. But like they threw a strike. But like, you ask those kids, that's all they have, right? They play Little League right over there across the street. All they dream about is playing at Rex Weech. Like that doesn't happen everywhere. Like that's special. That's like Friday Night Lights shit. You know what I mean? Like they make movies about that stuff. Like that's that's the hard part is like I think when you get to high school, everybody tries to be cool. Like don't lose that aura. Don't lose that feel. Don't lose that why you do all this to do this now. Like this is the time, a great time in your life. Don't let it pass you by and try to remember that and try to understand. And that was one of our big things we hit last year, Ralphie and I would in 17 too would talk to those guys about like I'm the outsider in this, but like hey, this shit matters. Like this means like I said, I want to win at everything I've ever done. Like and this is no different. And like you guys understand what you have here. Like you don't have a lot of places where your staff feel losses.
Right.
Our staff felt losses. Like
Every time.
we would grind the conversations that Ralphie and I would have to God knows what time in the middle of the night about practice and how we can try to fix this, or look at this look at this video, or what do you think about this? Like that doesn't happen everywhere. And that's because we feel like I felt like we needed to bring our best every time for where we play. And that's what this place brings.
Absolutely.
It's good stuff. I'm gonna get down there for opening night. Hopefully, that'd be pretty cool if you're getting down there. I think it's first week in February, right, Ralphie?
February 7th and 8th. Yeah.
I saw the Instagram. I'll look at it. Make sure to see if I don't have a tournament, I ain't missing opening night.
That'd
be cool. Well, good deal. Well, thank you again, Doug. Thank you everybody out there for continuing to watch and continue to support. Ralphie, thank you for your efforts tonight. And we are going to go ahead and say 360 is out. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Ralphie. See you
got
guys.
it, brother. Alrighty.
Go Conks.